Okie dokie, folks. Going to get started with my focus group watch list video. You should have already received the spreadsheet. Make sure you're looking at it because that's what I'm going to be discussing. Apple, I've been talking about the consolidation range pre-earnings, but just to kind of put it out there, if we do get a close above 129.50 for the weekly chart, which pretty much means, come Friday afternoon, if it's holding up above that, might actually take the 515 140 calls as a 50-50 trade. Just depends on what the markets are doing overall. So really simply explained, when with the 50-50 system, if it breaks above the swing point, that's what it'd be for me. Moving over to the daily chart, I've been talking about this for several weeks. Kind of consolidating now, waiting for the earnings, just like back here, consolidated as it waited for the earnings. Back here, consolidated as it waited for the earnings. I think there's some trades to maybe make off like a 60-minute chart and such, especially with having a couple weeks until they do report the earnings. But I don't think that right now you need to force anything off the daily chart, so no new trade is listed there. Now over to the 60-minute chart. This one's actually kind of interesting when you also factor in the consolidation pattern that we've had. The current up move with a fib target of 129.68, we kind of held up Friday right about at that 50% line. So I just kind of marked a couple Fibonacci extensions off of that point right there to kind of see what the risk to reward would be. Now, depending on where we open up, I mean, if we open up above the 50% line, you could pretty clearly get you a trade for the 423, 128 calls. Probably pay about $1.86 for them and run them up to that 129.68 target. If you start to pull back from that 50% line, I'd actually look at the 423, 126 puts for that 123.75 target. Probably about the same price you'd pay, close to about 187 for the 126 puts, with very, very similar risk to reward. But looking at it overall, it's just kind of an interesting point on the 60-minute chart, depending on how the market moves coming out of the gates this week, that you could see a trade opportunity for, really without waiting for candle closes and this, that, and the other. You could trade it just right off of that 50% line, the over-under type of thing, to either one of those 100% lines shown. And then, of course, the last two 60-minute charts that are linked, it's actually both just these, but for two different plays. Just telling you to watch for a break above this 60-minute swing high for a play on the 423, 130 calls as a 50-50 trade, and a break below this red line down here at 125.04 for a trade on the 423, 123 puts as another 50-50 trade. Okie dokie. Well, several months ago, GS made a weekly swing high point at double topped right here at 195.45, and this past week actually closed about 19 cents above that. That could take us higher into that 203.73 target. If it's going to, it's got earnings on Friday. If it's going to do it, I hope it shoots up there early in the week so we can cash out at least on the $200 calls. Maybe this next quarter with the earnings, we can get a better lead on it and better swings on it. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm sure we will. It's just kind of been a rough time. They miss on earnings, but make an actual quality upswing that really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But the fact is it did do it. So, that's the bad part. But you actually could see, if it holds up above 195.45, you could actually see it continue up to that 203.73 target area that we've had for a while. And we got some $200 calls. If we can get rid of them early in the week, great. I'd be really happy to do that. Over then to the daily chart, if you run your Fibonacci extensions from this low to this high to this last low, gives you this 196.56 target area. And I put this Fibonacci extension right here, and that's for, if we get an up day on Monday with a, ability to kind of hold up there, I actually use the 196.56 as what would be the zero line to project this 187.28 target. But if we just replicate this same swing, we could actually see maybe an up day on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, leading into the earnings, a little bit of a pullback down to here. That means come Tuesday morning, I might actually look for that 515, 190 puts play. But in reality, if it looks like it's going to do that, I might take the 417s, which, I took also early last week and they're down a little bit. But I might make the one additional buy and trade both of them down to that 187.28 and sell it before the earnings just to try to make a little bit on that aspect. Besides that, GS does have earnings this week. Not a lot of premium inflation, but there is a little bit. With the trades I've got in it, I've been saying for a few weeks, I'm planning on holding these April monthlies to see what the earnings give us, and that's what I'm kind of betting on right now is to see what we get. But I will say that off that weekly chart, if we do get up into that 203.73 area before the earnings, I will sell my $200 calls and take my chances that we get enough of a drop to make some on the puts.